good, everybody? I'm Corey, and we are about to react to what creatures brutally attacked these men in the forest. Okay, so this is a new MrBallen video. I haven't checked it out yet. Let's get straight into it.
Today, we're going to look at two spooky stories about people's run-ins with terrifying creatures.
Okay.
But before we get into
terrifying
those stories,
creatures,
if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's an interest,
I love doing
out
that.
to Petsum. My Instagram handle is just MrBallen, where you will see all the behind.
I know MrBallen had Instagram.
Of us being on tour. It's okay. Let's get into today's stories.
Let's go. Let's go. Most lit intro on YouTube. Let's go. What you got, Mr. B? Let's go.
Just after midnight on May 1st, 1971, a 20-year-old woman named Elizabeth Ford was sleeping on a couch in the front room of a small house near a city in Arkansas called Texarkana. Realized this creaking sound was sort of moving back and forth, right outside on the porch below the open window. Suddenly, Elizabeth's eyes flew open and she looked at the window because this creaking sound had just intensified and then came to a stop on the immediate other side of this window, like there was something heavy right outside. Elizabeth sat up to face the window, but she didn't see anything outside through the screen. And so right away she felt totally relieved. You know, she didn't know what that sound was, but clearly there was nothing there.
Okay.
However, just to be certain, she decided she would go a little bit closer to the screen and actually look right up close to make sure there was nothing down below on the porch. And so Elizabeth leaned forward and pressed her face to the screen and began to look. And as she did, this dark figure down below suddenly rose up and completely blocked out the window. And Elizabeth's looking at it, having no idea what it is. And before she could do anything, this huge thing slashed at the screen, and this big reddish furry brown paw with razor sharp claws cut through the screen and nearly cut Elizabeth's face. Elizabeth screamed and practically fell over, and this dark creature outside turned, bolted, and disappeared. And then a moment later, Elizabeth's husband, Bobby, and his brother came running into the room, asking what was going on. Elizabeth and Bobby and his brother got shotguns and flashlights and went outside. Once outside, Bobby and his brother
got the shotties on deck. They got the shotties
area where Elizabeth had apparently seen this bear to see where it was. They held their flashlights out and they scanned the tree lines. They looked all over the place, all around the front of the property, but there was no sign of this animal. Both Bobby and his brother were hunters, and they knew that usually the best thing to do with the bears that roamed this area was to leave them alone. I mean, these bears could grow to be 500 pounds, and if they were provoked, they could run at 35 miles an hour.
What?
And so generally, you just stayed away.
Are you serious?
And they'd leave you alone too. However, as the brothers were sitting there talking through
bear?
what happened that night, they both said, you know, it definitely seemed like this bear was different. I mean, apparently it was aggressive enough to come right up to the house unprovoked and reach in and swipe at Elizabeth. And so, to Bobby and his brother, this meant that they really couldn't just leave this bear alone. They had to go out there and find it and kill it to protect themselves. And so Bobby lit a cigarette on his nerves, and then the two brothers came up with a plan for how they were going to go find this bear. Bobby's brother would man the front of the house, and Bobby would man the back of the house. And they would stay in their respective positions, monitoring the property until either they saw the bear and dealt with it, or until the sun came up, at which point they could go get help. And so after agreeing to this plan, Bobby took one final drag on his cigarette, chucked it to the ground, and then with a shotgun in one hand and his flashlight in the other, he stepped off the porch and walked around to the back of the house and stared off into the darkness.
My husband had no idea how
he about to die, bro.
Bobby had only been in the back of the house for a couple of minutes manning his post when he began to smell this horrible smell. Bobby instinctively raised his shotgun and fired, and then after shooting, a loud yelp echoed in the air, and then Bobby just took off running in the direction he had just fired. And to get over to where Bobby had last seen it and where he heard this yelp come from,
it was a person.
And there was nothing. There was no bear. Still, the brothers did feel a little relieved. They figured even if they couldn't find this thing, you know, clearly Bobby had hit it. The bear was on the porch. That's why the women were screaming. They had seen it. And Bobby's brother had seen it, but Bobby hadn't. And now he was too close to it to get away.
No!
Bobby could raise his gun to protect himself.
No!
This thing attacked. And Bobby felt this horrible burning, tearing sensation in his arm. He fell to the ground, twisting wildly back and forth, trying to protect himself. He was pinned underneath this enormous bear, led level with its chest, with its arms and legs on either side of him. And that horrible smell he was smelling was clearly coming from this animal. That's all he could smell from underneath. But just then, it was like a miracle, because to his side, Bobby could see there was an opening, and so he rolled and somehow got out from underneath this enormous creature.
Okay.
Bobby scrambled up to his feet, and he darted past the bear and rammed into the closed front door of the house. It popped open, he fell inside, and his wife ran forward and shut the door behind him, leaving Bobby's brother outside on the porch alone with the bear. But before
he got a gun though.
Could do anything about that, they heard the sound of his brother's shotgun going off. Then there was a long moment of silence.
Okay.
Inside the house, everybody was frozen.
Okay.
A few seconds later, the door slowly opened.
He walked in,
Bobby's
right?
brother walked inside.
Okay, good.
Everyone was too shocked
good.
to say anything. So
Okay, we're good.
They all just
Right?
stared at each other. And then finally, Bobby asked him, "Is the bear dead?" And Bobby's brother, with a trembling voice,
That wasn't
said,
no bear. That wasn't no bear.
And that wasn't a bear.
That wasn't no bear. I knew it.
And it was not dark outside anymore. Bobby's wife drove him to the hospital, where they would treat him for shock and for the wound to his shoulder. In the dirt surrounding the house were all these bizarre footprints and handprints of a creature that seemed to walk on its hind legs with 3 toes on each, and had 3 long, sharp claws on its hands. And as unbelievable as this all seemed,
Oh my God, what is that?
Tracked with what Bobby's brother said he saw when he was out on the porch. He said he saw a creature with reddish-brown hair all over it that stood over 7 feet tall, and after being shot, it took off running on 2 legs. They called it the Fouke Monster, or sometimes the Boggy Creek Monster. Authorities have never actually been able to pinpoint what this thing was. Nobody knows. And to this day, hikers and hunters near the swamps of southwest Arkansas and also across the border into East Texas still report run-ins with the legendary Fouke Monster. Me and the whole team at Ballen Studios have created a special...
No, they don't. No, they don't. Let me pause it. No, they don't, bro. 1971, that was what, 53 years ago, man? That thing is not alive for 53 years, whatever that was, bro. Bro, whenever MrBallen starts off in a woods video, that's how you know something bad's about to happen. That's why I don't go in the woods. That's why you gotta stay inside, stay in the city. Crazy stuff will happen in the city, but you don't get like monsters and weird creatures in the city. You know what I'm saying? You don't get no Bigfoots in the city, bro. You only get that kind of stuff when you're in the woods, camping out and stuff. All right, the next story is called Hellhound. So let's go.
A 20-year-old man named Fraser Baloyi walked alone down a main road toward his village in the South African province of Limpopo. In recent days, this area of Limpopo had basically become a ghost town. Nobody went out unless they absolutely had to, because over the last 10 days, over 20 people in this area had been brutally mauled. The victims had all insisted that the creature that had mauled them was some kind of 4-legged demon, and they had begun calling it the Beast. However, when he turned back around and kept on going towards his village, he heard this loud crashing sound behind him, like a massive animal had leapt out of the brush and landed on the path behind him. And so Fraser was so scared he couldn't even turn around. He just started sprinting toward the village, and all he could hear behind him were these loud, pounding footsteps. As whatever this was, as he's running, this thing's gaining on him, and again, he can hear this awful wheezing sound coming from whatever this is.
You gotta like juke him out
with its lungs. And in Fraser's panic,
bro, you gotta juke him out, bro. If you going that fast, you running this fast, and then that thing is gaining on you. You gotta step back, James Harden. Step back. You know what I'm saying? You gotta step back, bro. You gotta juke him out sometimes. You know what I'm saying? If somebody following you that fast, the person chasing you isn't expecting you to stop. So if you just stop on a dime, they might, you know what I'm saying, fly and, fall off into the brush somewhere. That's what you gotta do, man, when it comes to something like that, man.
And again, he can hear this awful wheezing sound coming from whatever this is, as if there was something wrong with its lungs. And in Fraser's panic, as he's sprinting through the forest, Fraser's telling himself, it's just gotta be a rabid dog. That's why it's making those sounds. But he knew that didn't track. This thing is huge. This can't just be a rabid dog. And he gets to his door, he's about to open it up, and right as he does, he feels this searing pain in his neck. This creature, whatever it was, had leapt and grabbed onto him and bit down. And so Fraser crumpled to the ground and threw his arms up over his head to protect himself. And with one eye, he can see it's this massive black creature on top of him, chewing on the lower half of his face.
What?
Fraser, he couldn't even feel any pain. He just began screaming for help, and he tried to push it off of him.
Chewing on his face?
And then a second later, a flash of metal came across his eye as his mother and other villagers who had seen this happening and heard him screaming came out and began smashing whatever this was with shovels. Whatever this thing is, this enormous dog-like creature, this had to be the beast. That's what just attacked him. And in this moment, Fraser realized, this creature may have the shape of a dog, but it was not a dog. As Fraser and his mother stared out the window at this creature, it didn't leave. It just sat there staring back at Fraser and his mother with these hideous human eyes for hours and hours.
For hours?
Finally, in the morning, it was gone. The attack on Fraser was the last straw for the people of his village. They believed the creature was the demon beast that had hurt so many people. And so the elders of Fraser's village came up with a plan how to deal with this beast. To this day, people in Fraser's village maintain that this creature was a demon and that it came down from the burning mountain. Because every person, including Fraser, who had encountered this beast, noted its wheezing, heavy breathing, as if its lungs had been damaged by smoke. In all, at least 40 people in Limpopo encountered this beast, either because they were attacked or they helped fend it off. But because it was never caught,
a real demon?
There is no definitive proof of what it actually was.
At least it didn't kill anybody, right?
As many of you may know,
oh my
the biggest
gosh,
event to ever come out of Ballen Studios.
Holy crap. A real life demon came down from the mountains and bit his neck. That's crazy, man. I don't know if I buy that story, but that's what they're going with. So as long as it didn't kill anybody, you know what I'm saying? That's cool. You know what I'm saying? But man, that is crazy, bro. MrBallen, that's why I love MrBallen's stories, man. He always comes with the heat, bro. He's such a good storyteller. He knows how to really get into it. Whenever you talk about staring intently into your eyes. But man, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Peace out.